Hello and welcome to the Rose Rehash. We are here every Monday night after The Bachelor to recap the show and give out awards. Tonight, episode 2 of The Bachelor, we started to get into it. There's still a lot of women on the show. 24 women are still left. It feels like we're having a sorority meeting where we're discussing nationals, but that's okay. This episode tonight was a fun episode. We're starting to get to know Matt a little bit better because we don't know him. We have to start with, we don't know Matt James. He's never been on the show before. We know him from his Instagram account. We know he's Tyler C's best friend. So we are learning about him as well as the women at the same time. So sometimes it feels like we're taking turns. We're going from Matt time to the woman time to the Matt time to the woman time. And that's how the show started. We start with just finding out as if we didn't already know. If you didn't look at Matt's Instagram, you found out tonight this is the most active person that has ever lived. He does more before 8 a.m. than you did this month. He's running. He's going through the hills. He's going on a Peloton. He's showering. This guy, they showed him do a workout, and I was exhausted watching him. And then they have him in the shower, and we know Matt's gorgeous. There's nobody who's going to deny how hot Matt James is. But this shower scene, I was sitting there. I'm like, okay, I got to get my stuff together. I got to start going to the gym. I got to start working out. I got to start thinking about my carb intake. Like, I look at Matt James' body and I'm like, I am a straight male, I think, and I'm reaching towards the screen to touch his abs. It's just unbelievable. Then they show us the Nemacolin Hotel. Nemacolin, what a step up from the La Quinta. The producers got the note. The producers listened to the audience. They were not going to be made fun of for their locale. And I think they also realized that if you're going to be in a bubble situation, if everyone's going to be on one location, it better be good and it better be dynamic. The La Quinta, it all looked the same, whether it was the spa or the pool or the presidential suite or Chris Harrison's suite. It all just had the same coloring and sepia tone. Nemacolin is dynamic. It's got woods, it's got hills, it's got the hotel, it's got massive grounds. They do flyovers. Every time they fly over, I think it's just this, it's a woman who loves an infinity scarves wet dream. Like, I just imagine a woman sitting there being like, we need to take a trip to the country now. And it's like, yeah, this is a pumpkin spice dream. This is a pumpkin patch dream. This is every woman 1 year into a relationship that wants to take a trip's dream. This is a Instagram bounty that every woman wants to have, and Nemacolin hits that sweet spot. Even though it's outside of Pittsburgh, there's probably some guy, that's yelling, "Steelers! Here we go, Steelers!" Like from beyond the grounds, just yells it randomly. Some yinzer. So we're going to go into the episode. We get to the men. Chris Harrison comes into the women, and he says there's going to be 2 one-on-one dates and 1 group date. And there's so many women here that some of you won't get any date at all, which that's actually a very serious thing. You come all this way, you get the cocktail night, and then all of a sudden you get one night to try and meet them outside the limo, and then you're told, like, hey, that's it. There's a chance you don't get to talk to him again until the next cocktail hour. That kind of sucks. You've kind of put yourself out there and gotten through the first rose ceremony. You would expect to at least get to be on the date, get to the show. So Chris Harrison tells these women this and says the first one-on-one date is going to go to Bree. Bree seems awesome. She seems to get it. They go on a date where they're going to drive ATVs. They jump on the ATVs, and you see that Matt, the minute they get on these ATVs, Matt is the guy who in gym class was jumping up to do the demonstrations. He was jumping out of his seat. I'll help you, teacher. I know how to run a marathon. Like, he jumped on that ATV and he just speeds away from Bree, like, and he's doing back and forths, and Bree, like, if I'm Bree, I'm like, hey, can you go behind me? Can you not make me have to, like, risk my own life? Then at one point, Bree gets on the back of Matt's ATV, and Matt goes, do you trust me? And she's like, yeah, I trust you. Look at your abs. And then they go driving around, and he's doing wheelies. I would be on the back being like, slow down, come on. They end up flipping the ATV. Like, this is the accident they had on the ATV, because they are now healthy, was underplayed. That was a serious accident that someone out there has, like, had serious life trauma from. I'm sure they signed releases, but at the same time, if I'm Bree, I'm like, hey, you could have killed us. They fall over. Bree's laughing. She takes it in stride. You're like, Bree, are you the coolest woman I've ever met? Like, if that was me and my girlfriend, she'd be like, you always do this. You never listen. I'd be on the ground being like, I think I hurt my allergies. Like, I would be a baby. It just, everything about how they reacted to that situation is different than anything I've ever been. They go to a hot tub that's out in the middle of nowhere. It looks like it's out of a Viagra commercial. It looks like one of those barrels that somebody used to wear in the early 1900s when they lost all their money. They get into it. Matt James, before they get in, takes his shirt off. They play the porn music every time his shirt comes off, which, listen, there's double standards from The Bachelorette to The Bachelor. I get it. This is the most hilarious double standard to me. He takes his shirt off. They're like, bom, chicka, ow. He's like, do you want me to chop some wood? By the way, Matt is wearing no underwear with his jeans. As a man, if I ever wore no underwear with my jeans, the chafing that would go on, I would have to walk around with a Gold Bond, like a super-sized, Walmart-sized, Costco-sized Gold Bond baby powder, and I'd be pouring it down my pants every 5 minutes. I would need to get the cooling gel and the baby powder, combine it into a super coolant for the chafing that would have gone on. You can't wear jeans without underwear if you have an ounce of fat on your body, which Matt does not. Also, if I'm Matt's penis, I'm like, I'm scared shitless. The zipper's right there. I mean, one bad move and you're rubbing your head against the zippers. It's a bad. I was like, I'm sure Matt's penis during that whole day is just like, please don't juke the wrong way. You're gonna hurt me. You're gonna hurt the guy who got you here. So now they go in the hot tub. They have a hot moment. Bree and him seem to be connecting. Bree, super cool. She's covered in mud. She doesn't care. There's not one moment where she's like, I need to shower. Is there a place where I can wash my hands? Like, that is a normal person. Bree takes it exceptionally. They go to the date. Bree on the date tells him that her mom had her when she was 13 years old. Doesn't really has a relationship with her dad now, but he wasn't there around. And Matt relates to her by saying that he always gravitated towards big families because he wanted to feel a part of what they were doing so that he could have the big family experience. Bree agrees. They seem to connect. They make out under the fireworks. The fireworks are going off. And the beauty of having everything at one location is that the women back at the house have to become witness to what's going on around the perimeters of the hotel. So these women hear the fireworks. They're like, what's going on? They run outside and it's as if smoke is coming out of the Vatican. They're like, well, that means a rose has been given away. That must mean something. Like, they're not stupid. They don't just fire off the fireworks to let people know that she was sent home. No, they had a great date. Fireworks go off. She wins. You all lose. At this point, Victoria from last episode, our resident villain, is making herself, she's making herself heard. And I guess her argument, and I'm going to look this up. Victoria's argument is that Victoria's basic argument is that she will not be wishing anyone well on their dates. This is my understanding. Victoria will not be happy for anyone getting a date that isn't Victoria. I understand that stance. That stance is one that you keep to yourself. That is a stance that, while it may be the truth, that is not something you should hold against other people for not showing. And that's what Victoria seems to be doing. She seems to be telling people that they're acting dishonestly because they're acting like they're happy for the other women, which is an absolutely ridiculous thing to hold over other people. So when they see the fireworks go off, all the women go, oh, that probably means she had a good date. I guess they're making out. That's kind of weird. Which is weird. That is the correct response. But then Victoria goes, oh, you guys all said I was being negative before. Looks like you don't want to have someone making out with your guy. And it's like, and what Victoria is doing, and I think we're all a little exhausted with this type of person. This type of person has existed in spades this year with politics in the sky. This type of person lives in a world where they always juke to the next subject where they can call hypocrisy on other people, and they really don't really even take a stance on anything. They stay in the vague. They stay in the moral superior. They stay in a place where they go, oh, not being honest. It's like Victoria is the most Trumpian version of a contestant I've ever seen on this show. She says something, makes it, she says, people are saying, now it's the reality. Now she fights you on the thing that she's made up in the first place. That is what Victoria does every step along the way. She creates the controversy. She argues the controversy. She argues against you in a controversy that she created. And it's very frustrating because we've been going through this with every topic that's come up this year. And now we have to see it on our Bachelor episode. So it's like getting a little bit much. Also, Victoria, for whatever reason, I'm not trying to like take down someone for their looks, but all the women look good and put together. Victoria, for some reason, looks like she's spending all her time plotting different ways to make everyone else the villain while not showering and not getting ready. Because she just looks like she is a consistent morning after. So we move on from that date. We're going to go to the group date. The group date is going to be a date that I guess they've done this on many Bachelor episodes where they have the man and women take bride and groom photos. We're going to take fake bride and groom photos with our photographer, Franco. Franco, to me, I think they've made him into more of a character than he was in the past. Now they've made him somewhat of a focal point of this whole date because he's a big, boisterous character. He kind of reminds me of Frank from the Father of the Bride movies. And he's taking the pictures. Go get in your dresses. He's dressed ridiculously. And they start taking the pictures of Matt James with the 18 women on the group date. Yes, there are 18 women on the group date. Midway through the photo shoot, Chris Harrison comes over and goes, nope, we're going to change this up. We're going to see if you guys really want to fight for Matt James. And they bring them down to a wooded area, and they tell them that they're going to play Capture the Heart, which is some variation on Capture the Flag. Now, I have played Capture the Flag before. The way I knew Capture the Flag was there's two teams, and on each side they have their flag, and then your team tries to go and capture the flag, and if you get tagged, or if you get tagged, then you're out. Chris Harrison does a horrible job explaining the rules. Apparently, they're trying to put paint and cake on each other. I don't even think there's a jail. There's usually a jail in Capture the Flag where you send people you've tagged to the jail, and that's how it makes it easier for you to catch the other person's flag. There's no jail. The Franco is out in outer space. Franco the minute they relieve Franco of being the photographer, he just starts looking around. He doesn't know what to do with himself. They're at a podium where they're doing announcing. There's a referee who's falling asleep in his chair. None of it makes sense. The whole Capture the Flag thing thing. I don't know how they directed who was the winner, who was the loser, but somehow the red team won, the gold team lost, and Mari was the MVP, so she got to go on the date too. So now you've cut the group of 18 to 9 plus the 1 to go on the second half of the date. So that's, I guess, what happens. So they go on the second half of the date. Matt talks to Victoria. Victoria, again, does the thing where she's going to fake being a human. She goes, I have insecurities too. This is what people do who are assholes. They take something like insecurities that they know we all have, and they claim that's what makes them human. You don't understand. You might think I'm all fun and games, and I call myself the queen, but sometimes I feel fat. And it's like, yeah, we all feel fucking fat. We all feel that way. And it's like, Victoria, why don't you start at what your real job is? Telling us that you put on a dress thinking, do I look good? Yeah, we all feel that way. That doesn't mean you have more insecurities than the next person. Why don't you tell us, what do you mean by queen? Do you have a job? Do you do anything? And she goes, I've never. And then she goes away from talking to Matt, and she's like, I've never been that vulnerable before. Well, you also haven't told us how old you are, where you're from, what you do. We don't know anything about you other than you feel insecurity sometimes. Wow. Oh, my God. I've never heard of such a thing. Matt also has a huge conversation with Lauren, and religion is going to be a part of this show. Now, last episode, Matt led the group in prayer, which got a lot of controversy, a lot of feedback. I was one of those people. I never faulted him for doing prayer. For me, I'm more amazed that none of the women heard him go, now bow your head, and they were like, hey, I just want to stop you before your prayer. It was nice to meet you. I'm not going to be your girl. Like, I don't believe there were 32 women brought there who were excited to bow their head for prayer. That's my thought. Now Lauren pulls him aside, and Matt goes, so tell me about yourself. What do you think what are you looking for in a man? And Lauren's like, well, I'm looking for someone who, is in touch with God. And Matt's like, oh my God, how'd you know? This is what I'm looking for. It's like, dude, you led a sermon last week. I think I know what you're looking for. And it's like, that's good. I think that's great for Lauren. It's great for Matt that they're going to connect on this. If I'm someone who's not a church person, if I'm someone who's not religious, I have to wonder what I'm doing there. And I get it. Some people are there for other reasons than Matt. They're there for, to be a personality, to be on a show, to be on a vacation, to be on an adventure. I understand that, but it is hard for me to understand that you could realistically go through the motions of this show, because Matt gives Lauren the rose, and it felt like it's because they connected on the religious stuff. They connected on having very similar values and backgrounds, and that's great. So we get done with that date, and we go back to the house, and we're going to do our last one-on-one date. And the last one-on-one date is with Sarah. Sarah and Matt get in a prop plane that I wouldn't step foot into. This prop plane looked like it was like someone got on the front propeller and was like throwing it down to start up the propeller, like as if it started up by going like like that's how it felt like it started. It felt like I was in Indiana Jones, like we were just like gonna maybe get this plane off the ground. They get in the plane, and it's like, and Sarah says something weird, like what she says, what would we do if we go down? And he's like, I would love that. It's like, what? Are we talking about crashing right now? They do a couple of spins around. They go out to the woods. They have a nice date. Matt asks about her family, and she kind of holds back. At that point, you start to wonder, you're like, is Sarah here against the will of her family? She held back. They get to the nighttime date. Sarah tells him, my dad has ALS. It's a very sad story. She's basically the caretaker. She has left her job to take care of her dad. What an amazing and sad and tragic and, good, an amazing thing of her to do for her father. That's quite a story. Matt seems to be attentive, seems to be nice, seems to really care and ask the right questions. He asked a question at one point. He goes, what can I do to be a better person for you and to show you that I'm here for you, or to show you that I'm here? And it's like, the way he asked the question, I'm like, wow, that's the most thoughtful question I've ever heard a Bachelor lead of this show ask. They celebrate vulnerability by getting in the hot tub, and they make out, and she gets a rose. Now we go to a cocktail party, and they're basically going to get their one last shot to talk to Matt. During this cocktail party, Marilyn goes off with Matt, and Marilyn says to Matt that she's worried that she didn't get enough time because she didn't go on any of the dates. Matt then says, I wanted to let you know I was thinking about you. I bought you an orchid because you mentioned orchids last time we spoke. Okay. I'm not one of these people that likes like some people are like, that's a producer pick. That, Victoria's around because of the producers. I don't know. That's not something I can concern myself with. I don't know if a producer told him about the orchid or if he remembered the orchid, but Matt James just officially made every guy look bad on Valentine's Day. There is no way that anyone who watches The Bachelor can look at their boyfriend the same when Matt is doing the most thoughtful thing I've ever seen someone do that's just spoke for someone for 5 minutes. That is I can't believe he remembered the orchid. I am so mad at Matt. Now I have to do fireworks and, bring my girlfriend to an orchid factory or some shit to keep up with him. Then Victoria sees Marilyn, who was once her roommate, who she moved out of the room because she didn't like Marilyn, get an orchid from Matt. This sets Victoria off. She's like, I need to tell Matt she's not who she claims to be. She bullied me and she was my roommate. And so now Victoria goes to Matt and tells him this, but I don't understand. Nobody seemed to know that Victoria and Marilyn had this thing. You would think in a house of women that one of them would be like, yeah, they had it out the other day and Marilyn said this and Victoria said this. No one seems to know this story. Victoria, again, creating realities that don't exist and sticking to them and then getting mad. And then they go to sit down and Marilyn goes to talk to her about it and goes, hey, can I sit with you? And she goes, you sit there. No, I sit here. No, we sit here. I need you to look at me. It's like, Victoria's a professional. She has done this before. I don't believe that she's a producer's pick. I believe that this is who she is and this is what she does. Because the way she argued with Marilyn was a professional job. That was a hit job. Marilyn didn't know what to do. She was like, I just want out of this. And Victoria's like, no, you're in. You're in the tornado. You don't get out. I have figured out how to keep myself here while getting you out. Because now I'm Matt's girl that tells him the truth. We go to the rose ceremony. He starts giving out roses, and all of a sudden, Sarah has an episode. She has a moment. She says she sees stars. She says she's blacking out, and now we're to be continued. That was our show. Let's give out some awards. Now, the Batchies is where I give out roses to the contestants I loved and divorce papers to the contestants I did not like this episode. My first rose is going to go to Bree. I thought Bree, what a great date. What a fun woman. What a great story. It all made sense. Their connection seemed good. The fact that she was involved in a serious ATV accident and just went like that and never asked for water to wash her hands. She's just walking around caked in mud. It's like, I've never dated anyone in my life that was like, oh yeah, the ATV rolled over, but I'm cool. Come on, let's go to the hot tub. What? The next rose goes to Sarah. Sarah reveal, to tell anyone about, and especially a national TV audience, about what you're dealing with your dad, unbelievable, so tough. The way she got into it, it was very nice. I just a tragic and nice story to see, and then you hope she's okay for next episode. The last rose goes to Franco, the photographer. Franco thought. It really did seem that Franco didn't know that there was gonna be the capture the flag thing going on. It felt like he went for this photo shoot that he always does. He was ready to do his bit. He was ready to say all the things he always says. Oh, look, you're in love. Oh, put on your dress. He's my husband now. He got his laugh. And then they were like, nope, we're playing capture the flag. And then Franco, it looked like he had done a little bit of acid, and he was like, what is going on right now? And at one point, he jumps up from the desk, and he just starts taking pictures because he's like, this is what I know how to do. This is how I keep things constant. So good for Franco. I was happy for him. The divorce papers. The first one has got to go to the producers and Chris Harrison. How did you... The way they explained the capture the heart rules, it didn't explain how a winner would happen. It didn't explain how a loser would happen. I need to know. People were tackling each other. We had no idea why. Chris Harrison, you've been doing the show for 40 years. Explain the rules to us. Explain to us how there's a winner and a loser. I want to watch this and not feel like I have no idea what's going on. I watched that whole capture the flag thing, and I felt like I felt like an old man at a surprise party. I was like, what's happening? Is this for me? What are we doing? I'm scared. Like, I had no idea what was happening the whole time. How did the gold team lose? How did the red team win? No one knows. How did Mari get MVP? We have no idea. The next one is going to go to Victoria. Victoria is exhausting to watch. It's exhausting, especially in 2021 after a year of arguing with people that have created their own realities and gone with them. And then you sit there going, what are you talking about? And then they get mad at you for asking what they're talking about. Victoria, it reminds us all of a relative we've had to deal with. She doesn't make sense. She is supremely confident in the face of having, when we know she's not confident. We know this is all about insecurities. She says it to Matt. She says, she's talking to Matt and she goes, well, I was just wondering if I look fat. That's it. When she said that, because I have insecurities. We all have insecurities. She said it right off the bat. I didn't want to look fat in my dress. That means she doesn't think she looks as good as the other people in the house. That's what she thinks. And she also probably thinks that Matt James is out of her league. And I think that's her belief. So she's going with this strategy of just being an asshole to everyone in the house so everyone can feel as bad as her. The last divorce paper, it has to go to the other women in the house. It's all the women in the house. America needs the women of the house to speak directly to Victoria. I need the women of this house to step up. I need them to be the heroes America needs. I need them to start punching back at Victoria, metaphorically. I need them to start asking Victoria questions to get her to start talking so we can hear her fall on her face a little bit. Because right now, Victoria is winning, and nobody has stepped up. I think Serena at one point was like, you sound, what did she say? She kept going, you sound, no, babe. And she tried to step up to her. It was like watching another X-Men step up to someone with stronger powers. It's like, I need someone in the house to step up to Victoria. Can one person just go, hey, Victoria, what do you do for work? Do you have a job? Do you live at home? Like, I need people to start asking Victoria questions that gets her a little bit wobbly, that gets her off her game. Because right now Victoria is winning the verbal war. She is winning all of these. No one's standing up to her. Marilyn doesn't have it. Someone else in that house has to have it. I don't know who it is, but one of the other women has to step up and look at Victoria and go and start, taking her down a peg, because right now she's too confident for me. Every time I watch the show, I'm like, oh my God, I need someone. We need a hero. I need a woman in that house to be the hero America needs, to bring this country together, to unify us and take down Victoria verbally. That's our episode. We'll be back next week. Boom.